Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins in Nevada where the United Aerospace Corporation have discovered a teleportation device known as the Gate. It connects to a gate on the Martian moon of Phobos where UAC have built a facility and Dr. Malcolm prepares to teleport a volunteer from Earth. The young Dr. Barnes walks through the portal proving the experiment a success as he's instantly teleported to the moon above Mars. But as employees begin to celebrate, Dr. Peterson points out that Barnes has emerged deformed and leaking a black fluid from his face. They contain him in a cell but Malcolm believes he only mutated as a side effect due to antidepressants in his system and plans to try again. Earth's Dr. Kahn refuses to allow another of his staff to volunteer again, so Malcolm decides to teleport himself to the Nevada base instead. Meanwhile, between the two planets, the armored transport NOLA brings a team of Marines to guard the Phobos base. Among them's the disgraced Lieutenant Joan Dark, who got her whole team put on 3 years of Martian detail for allowing a terrorist to go free by accident. The Marines are reluctant to work with her except for Dark's ex-boyfriend Bennett, who's been assigned to the base as one of their new scientists. On approach to Phobos, Captain Hector goes over the base's 3 declassified levels as they find out later about a 4th one housing the gate. Private Carley is excited to be in space, but Private Winslow's constantly shouting at Dark for her getting the squad assigned to the deathly boring mission. On the surface of Phobos, medical assistant Veronica makes the final preparations to send Malcolm through the gate. He steps through it when suddenly there's a large electrical surge and the Phobos base suddenly goes offline. When Veronica attempts to reboot it, something snarling emerges from the gate and the screen cuts to black. The Marines arrive but are now unable to communicate with the base, so they receive new orders from command to investigate the situation and restore power. They hear the screams of what sounds like a monster, so their pilot Morgan's happy to remain within the safety of the NOLA. As they gear up, Winslow's hoping they'll get to shoot some aliens while Sergeant Logan tells Bennett not to go wandering off and getting himself killed. Another electrical surge briefly shuts down the NOLA as something hijacks the controls away from Morgan. The only way that the 10-man team can enter the Phobos base is via an emergency entrance while Morgan attempts to get the ship working again, but it's become corrupted. Bennett discovers that the emergency power is still activated and the computers are running, but it's been drained to only 2%. He tells Hector they have a mere 90 minutes to return power to the base before the fusion reactor explodes and destroys the whole moon. The Marines split up into 2 teams, with one going to the computers to wait while the rest go to the reactor room to try get the main power turned on. They come across the corpse of another UAC soldier while Captain Tarek finds an ancient language that's been extinct for 2,000 years written on the wall in blood. It translates to "We've come to reclaim what's ours through pain and divinity," which has them thinking that the dead soldier is the result of ritual sacrifice. While searching for the reactor room, Tarek comes across a zombie-like creature feeding that leaps on him and swiftly rips out his throat. When Winslow arrives at the scene, he's attacked in the same way but manages to shoot his attacker in the head before the lieutenant can arrive. She notices that the man's a scientist who's been corrupted into a monster as 2 privates Harry and Chen also break rank to check out a noise. A second corrupted scientist charges at them, so they light him up, but upon inspecting his name tag he leaps back up and needs to be put down again. They try to regroup but they're hit again and Chen gets killed when Harry's distracted fighting off attackers. Meanwhile, the other half of the team are still heading towards the control room when Private Rance notices they're going the wrong way and thinks that their navigation systems must be damaged. They turn around and find 3 survivors: Peterson, Veronica, and the yet-to-be-met base's religious chaplain Glover. Before Peterson can tell them what's going on, she's attacked by one of the corrupted who bites out her neck before Hector can shoot it. Both teams are suddenly set upon by dozens of demonic staff, and after pulling away from his team, Logan gets overwhelmed and killed. Joan's left alone when the cowardly Winslow runs away, so she shoots her way back to the rest of her team before running out of ammo and switching to her pistol. When that's empty, she switches to her knife, and after throwing it away she pulls a chainsaw from the wall to hack up another former employee. Winslow's chased away from the reactor room and through the halls of the base until being rescued by the lieutenant, who's found some more ammo. She socks the coward in the face for running away before the pair work together to meet up with the rest of the team minus the captain. Hector's fallen behind and gets overwhelmed by the corrupted forces and torn apart before the lieutenant can return to rescue him. She demands to know from Bennett what the scientists discovered, but Dr. Malcolm approaches to explain having survived the demon invasion. He reveals they've been researching the gate for 3 decades, hoping they'll find more of them and be able to colonize other planets. They believe that the gates were built by an alien race over 7,000 years ago, but Veronica says that the thing that entered looked more like a monster. Glover saw them as well and says that they look like demons entering through a portal from hell. To solve their problem, Dark decides the best course of action will be to just evacuate the base and let the building explode, so Malcolm threatens to hold her accountable when they get back to Earth for destroying all of his research. Meanwhile, the Nola's computer announces that it was corrupted by the demonic presence upon docking with the base and that it was shutting down services to the Marines, rendering them increasingly helpless during their mission. When Morgan attempts to take them into orbit in a bid to restore communications, the computer lets a lesser demon called an imp onto the ship, killing him. Upon returning to the transport, the crew find Morgan unresponsive, so the lieutenant goes to check on him while the rest of the team begin to relax. Harry talks to Glover about his past being a soldier before being a priest, when he's suddenly run through the back by another imp who tosses his corpse away and wounds Glover. Lieutenant Dark finds their pilot dead on the floor when the imp that killed him attacks, hurling fireballs and chasing her around the bridge. It pins her to the ground and begins to corrupt her soul into one of the zombies as she's shown visions of hell, when she's saved by the gun-toting chaplain until his gun instantly jams. The imp lands a fatal blow on Glover, but his distraction gives Joan enough time to unjam the rifle and send the demon back to where it came from. The holy man dies in the lieutenant's arms, while Carley and Winslow are left alone when Rance gets torn apart and Bennett's knocked unconscious. As you'd expect, the coward Winslow runs away again, abandoning his teammate and leaving her to fend for herself. When she does eventually get attacked, though, he must have a change of heart because he returns to help her kill the demon. They recover Bennett and all gather to come up with a plan, but with only 30 minutes left until the base explodes, Joan agrees to Malcolm's plan of restoring power and teleporting to the Nevada base. She then reveals to Bennett in private that her agreement was just to trick Malcolm to restore power so they can communicate with home, and has no intention to risk entering the gate. They get to the reactor where Bennett works on restoring the base's power and Malcolm starts to verbally abuse all of the crew. When the core activates and the base switches over to its main power, the doctor stabs Veronica with a knife and seals the troops inside the room. They're ambushed by numerous imps, and when one of them almost kills Winslow, it's knocked away by Carley, but her gun jams. She's gutted by the imp, who finishes off Winslow, while Joan goes on to kill all of the demons with a combination of martial arts and a handgun. She and Bennett are the only two left standing and are told by Veronica with her last breath about the 4th level, hoping they'll prevent Malcolm from activating the gate. The pair swing by the armory for weapons and find an experimental gun called the BFG 9000 that shoots bolts of plasma. Lieutenant Dark puts it in her inventory along with some plasma grenades, and they continue to the elevator, but Bennett gets grabbed by an imp, dragged on board, and the doors shut. Two corrupted and an imp then approach from behind, so Joan tests out the BFG, destroying them with a single shot each before the elevator returns to her level. She goes down to the gate chamber on level 4, where she finds all of the uncorrupted scientists were slaughtered, and Malcolm claims to have found a new world. Just then Joan's attacked by a corrupted Bennett, who distracts her long enough for Malcolm to activate the gate and prepare to step through. With no other choice, Joan's forced to kill Bennett, but Malcolm gets the drop on her and instead of shooting just monologues his plan until she disarms him and puts one in his chest. Since he's already just a possessed husky, resurrects and pushes Joan through the gate, teleporting her into a different dimension. She recovers from almost drowning and looks around before realizing that she's in hell and is surrounded by a horde of imps that begin to approach but not attack. They wait on a baron of hell that emerges from the ground to knock back Dark and begin revealing his plan to reclaim the earth and destroy humans. Like any good villain, he talks so much that he gives Joan time to pick up the BFG, turn the baron into a black goo, and empty the rest of the charge on the imps. She then retreats to the gate as she throws plasma grenades backwards at the imps and gets blasted through the portal all the way back to Earth. Now safe at the Nevada base, she demands that Dr. Kahn shuts down the gate, but gets apprehended and sedated by security. Before losing consciousness, the gate reactivates, so Dr. Kahn believes that Malcolm's about to step through, but a monster's heard as the camera cuts to black. And the movie ends.